An arid desert, spanned entirely by the cutting wind and howls of falling rocks, is suddenly rumbling with sound as an armored caravan rushes through. Inside one of the vans, 6 people sit down. They are shaking, either because they are unused to the rumbling of the van, or because of something darker. One of the 2 guards inside with them speaks up, noting that they've likely been briefed, but they are not to leave the designated area, and avoid words or actions that might provoke the prisoners. He will only tell them now that they are to exercise strict caution. Seeing that the van is void of talking after this, a woman with a bright look in her eye, Lala, introduces herself to the one next to her, noting that she's come to teach science. Dante Kong introduces himself too, and notes that he's here for science too. They shake hands, Lala finding it a nice coincidence, and Dante guessing that science had the most sign-ups. The other teachers begin piping up too, one by one noting that he's here to teach ethics, another music. The other 2 teach math and art. Their sections aren't as popular either. The music teacher notes that he feels like he can breathe now. They didn't say a word until this point, which he found weird. The ethics teacher looks out, noting that everyone was just really tense, as who could have imagined that they would end up here, in the world's largest prison, which has been compared to hell on multiple occasions, Fogland. Lala plays it off, noting that he shouldn't scare them so much. Anyway, it's called an international prison, so what could go wrong? The ethics teacher notes that it being an international prison makes it all the more suspicious. Does she know the story of how Fogland came to be? 50 years ago, in the middle of a desert, a massive meteorite crashed. 5 years later, all the world's great powers joined forces and built a prison on top of it. The music teacher perks up. That's why there are so many urban legends about it online. Like that it's there to imprison aliens or things like that. The ethics teacher confirms as such. He crouches down, his voice audible enough just for everyone to hear. One scholar even claimed that Fogland opened the gates to hell, so they just might be going to teach monsters. Dante lets out a choked laugh, wondering if educators like them really believe such things. People live in all corners of the world, and everyone has a right to learn, no matter what or who they are. The ethics teacher wonders if he really isn't scared, even if the rumors are false. That's still an international prison they are going in. It houses world-class criminals. Dante denies such a feeling. Those are just people that are lacking education. Or so he thinks, at least. As the others just kind of look at him, a guard gets a report over a walkie-talkie interrupts them. There are only 5 minutes until they enter Fogland, and, through the barred windows of the van, they all see the entrance to Fogland, a towering mass of steel and justice. The entrance has one banner on top of it, presumably made by the prisoners. The guards tell the teachers that they are not allowed to take photos, and not to take out their belongings until they have turned them in. Dante looks around, thinking that even if he wanted to get some photos, he couldn't because of all this fog. It's to the point where nothing is truly visible. Well, this is Fogland after all. As they look on, a guard explains that they will be escorted to their classrooms after surrendering their belongings. They will be guided to their assigned classrooms, and they should follow instructions for everyone's safety. Dante thinks he's just trying to scare them, and the teachers are split up. Dante remains calm, even if a little shaken by the atmosphere. There is nothing to be afraid of after all. It's just a place where people are living. He is put in his classroom, where he is met with an isolation classroom, completely dividing him from the class. He thinks it's excessive. He beats on the reinforced glass in front of him, and wonders how he's going to teach with this in front of him. Just then, a guard opens the door and notes that the prisoners are about to enter. Until the end of class signal sounds, he is not to leave his seat under any circumstance, or they cannot guarantee his safety. Dante looks on, a little bit horrified of what's to come. The door to the classroom opens, and the guards push the prisoners inside. But these are not just simple men and women. They all look grotesque, out of this world. Dante's heart sinks as his eyes dart from one prisoner to another. But they just have to be human, right? Even then, how is he supposed to teach that guy, who has his neck held up? Or that one, who has no eyes? He suddenly remembers what the ethics teacher said, that they might be going to teach monsters. Dante snaps out of it, as that's just nonsense. He needs to get a grip, as people live here after all. He adjusts himself and picks up the mic in his room. He introduces himself, and thinks that first, he should try an icebreaker. There were probably lots of fun classes like art and music, but science was the most popular from his understanding. Perhaps they are trying to build a rocket and escape? The joke doesn't land at all. In short, he doesn't have the whole squad laughing, except one of them, the hairy one, who seems rather amused. Dante feels like he's about to die from self-induced cringe, but that's fine. Rather than rockets, they will start with an easier, funner topic. Today's lesson is getting closer to nature. In front of all of their desks, they have what is called a sweet potato. This is usually a lesson for elementary students. Most of those with world-class criminal titles are gang members, raised in criminal societies, so this kind of experience will be unfamiliar to them. Naturally, at first it may seem trivial, but with a small cup and water, and a little attention, they will see the sweet potato grow, and then, they will surely learn the value of life. He continues his explanation. All of them in Fogland are classified as dangerous criminals, but even so, today they came to learn. They are like this sweet potato, because they have an infinite capacity to grow, regardless of their environment. So from today onwards, they will try to grow sweet potatoes. One of them perks up. The prisoner, whose head looks exactly like a sweet potato, asks if he's saying that he's one too. Dante did not mean it like that. He didn't even see his head shape before saying this. He suddenly stops explaining, as he hears and sees a bunch of them just chomping down on the raw potatoes. Dante tells them not to eat them, as they are supposed to watch them grow, but then stops himself and thinks, just what are these people? Even so, they did not come involuntarily, so why on earth are they here, if not to learn? Suddenly one of them grabs his attention, telling him to stop talking about stupid shit, and tell them how to make fog already. Dante is a little taken aback, but connects the dots. This place does have a lot of fog, but are they curious about how it's created? The prisoner becomes annoyed. Seriously, a scientist who doesn't know fog. Dante notes that he's just a teacher, noting that this must be some joke he's trying to make. But suddenly, the reinforced glass in front of him shatters into a spiderweb formation. As the prisoner presses his head against it, Dante screams, clearly extremely surprised by what just happened, and reports back to the guards, noting that a prisoner is smashing the glass. That's when he remembers, though, wasn't this reinforced glass? Before he can think more on that, the guards burst through the door, rifles in hand, and they tell Dante only one thing: get down. With that, they open fire all at once on the prisoners, pumping them full with lead, as Dante cowers behind the glass. Seeing the bullets being fired constantly, he bangs on his door, demanding that they stop, but a guard tells him to hold position until everyone is executed. Dante's breath has become ragged. He asks if they are really going to kill all those people, but they can't. No matter what they did, they can't just take their lives. He shuts up as the prisoner without eyes simply grabs one of the guards, holding him with only one hand, before crushing his skull through his reinforced helmet. Viscera flies around as the prisoners, who are more akin to beasts, rip through the guards, with no value for the lives they are taking. They don't care after all. Dante begins to hyperventilate. His eyes begin to narrow as the last vestiges of consciousness fail him. Before that, though, he sees one lone prisoner, who hasn't even touched his potato, and has remained perfectly still. The thing is, that prisoner saw him too. Prisoner 182. Suddenly, Dante begins to rustle awake. The first thing he